was thinking of making more anima content, and I could go through and make every single example of how to make a class optimally, but I thought it'd be more useful and helpful for people who want to DM the game if I were to help expand its rather lacking bestiary. To give you an example, this is the Those Who Walked Among Us book, and I'm just gonna go to the table of contents. And this book adds quite a few monsters to the game, but to be honest, there's not that many of them. Uh, there's a handful. There's a few here, but there's not a lot here to fill out the level ranges with stuff that you can just grab and slap in there without it quickly becoming repetitive. There is some good lore in here for demons and stuff and other parts of the world where these monsters hail from, but there's just not a lot of monsters. But the game does give us the mechanics to make our own. And this book also gives us more mechanics for making monsters. And I'm not sure if I'll be using this book in this video. Actually, I think I will actually. There is a power in this book that I want for the monster we're making today. And I'm going to make a weekly, semi-weekly series where I'm going to make a monster in Anima Beyond Fantasy. And I'm going to just, it's going to be a monster that will fill a niche, or it will be something that just exists that can be thrown into an encounter. Uh, so, we want to go to, I'll go down to mass combat, then scroll past. I should really add a bookmark for the powers. Or, oh, I'm already gone past the powers. Are they after lost races, I wonder? Here, one second. Yeah, here they are, okay. I'm going to add a bookmark here. I forgot about these, and I was like bookmarking this. Yeah, I'll just add as that, Chapter 3, Abilities and Powers. So, how do we make a monster in Anima Beyond Fantasy? Well, it's actually the same way you make a player character. So, you could make this as a player character for some regard. There's some stuff you can buy that you cannot buy as a character. The first thing we have to do is pick our class. But before we pick our class, what are we making today? Today, we're making a troll. Uh, and I'm making a fairly typical fantasy troll. Creature lives under a bridge, asks for tribute, eats things as in pay, and is able to regenerate from most injuries. So, what do we know about trolls in our media? In our common, ideas. So, trolls have. I'll write down advantages so I can remember they have high regeneration, they are durable in general, they're weak to fire, they have a low human intelligence. They can speak usually to some degree. Or most of them. I'm going to say these ones the Anima can speak, just to make them more of an interesting roleplay option for DMs. But they have low human intelligence. Oops. I don't want to do that bad. They have low human intelligence, and they should probably be weak to mental effects due to this. Okay, so we have our characteristics of what this creature should do. How are we going to build it? What level this creature should be is we should determine. The class, that's not important. We can do that when we're making DP. We'll put some question marks there. Age for this creature doesn't matter. Trolls can live for who knows how long. Who cares? Gender, how can you tell? Race, this is important. So with this creature, with the size, a natural creature, a being between worlds, a construct. I think in Anima, trolls are likely beings between worlds. And then we determine how much genosis he has. So the troll might actually need to have a lot of genosis to make a proper, example of what a troll would be in Anima. Because we want a creature who can regenerate turn by turn and can only be killed by fire, basically, or acid, or by completely destroying the body. So, how do we get to that level of regeneration? So, trolls aren't regeneration 20 or 19. That's good. They're not regen 18. They might be. They're probably more like regen 16 or 17 probably. And I'd give like them 16 and say better trolls every gen 17. Just to get an idea of how powerful the troll should be in Anima. What that means is they get 25 hit points every turn, and they reduce penalties by 10 per turn on top of the usual decay rate. These reduction of penalties are important for more permanent injuries, like a broken limb, and that can determine how long it takes for you to recover that. And it's pretty fitting that it can grow back within a few hours. It's limbs, that's how trolls work. They can regenerate from very little. So I think 17 is our target number for what we want for regeneration. So let's add that here. So we want 17 regeneration as a minimum, as to what we want to hit. 16 could maybe work if you want a bit more of a weaker creature, like I said. And we may even go for 16. 15 is, I think 15 is a bit too low for a troll for my headcanon of how they work. Of them, if you chop them to pieces, they'll get back up in a few hours kind of deal. So I think 16 to 17 is what we want for regeneration. Based on the DP we have, we might need to keep its regeneration level rather close to 16, probably. Depending on how much DP that actually costs, because I haven't memorized that. And the troll itself, they're pretty formidable creatures. They're fairly strong creatures. They should be able to beat up the average Joe, the average soldier, the average band of guys fairly easily. So I'm going to put it level 5 for now. Level 5 is a pretty good medium zone where they're strong enough they're a threat to a village or something, or to a small community. But they're not a big threat on their own against a large city, unless they were to group up, of course. After all, an army of trolls would be very dangerous to encounter. So stats. There's a few ways we can determine stats. We could do it the way the book suggests, which would be in this chapter, sorry. I always get a bit lost in this section of the book at the back because I don't use it enough, and this is just good practice for me. So we could just buy the stats of DP. Oh, sorry. This table is. I should reiterate this fact. I always forget about this table, but it's important. So this table is only for character and wizard created monsters. You only want to use it if you are a character who is making a monster, and you want to give them stats that are beyond 0, of course. And this is how you do it. You basically spend the modifier, more or less, at the beginning, and then it gets exponentially more difficult. And they can only be so strong. And beyond that, there's just a little caveat where the DM gets the spends of the DP too. But that's up to the DM of how he wants these creatures to work. If this is a monster you're making as a DM, like a being between worlds, you get to pick the stats. So we're going to do that. So let's do that right now. I think trolls are fairly lumbering and slow, but they're faster than a human. Like, they're not like. I guess when I say they're lumbering and slow for anime, they're lumbering and slow for an anime character in anime. So I'm going to give them a solid 6. Trolls should have pretty high con. I'm going to give that as one of their highest stats. I'm going to say it's like 14, something ridiculous. Their dexterity is probably only 8. Their strength, I'd say, is 12. Their intelligence, I'm going to put it a 4. Their perception should be pretty good. They're hunters. I'm gonna try and give them like enhanced natural senses so they can smell out their prey. So I'll give them 8 perception. I don't think trolls are charismatic or spiritually powerful, so I'm gonna again give them a 4 for power, or I'm gonna give them a 5 actually. But I'll give them a 4 for their willpower because I think it makes sense for them to be weak to magical effects. Now, I'm not gonna bother giving them bonuses to their stats for their level. Because me giving like this, I'm just gonna assume, this troll has developed the stats, right? That's why these stats are so high and low in places. So technically, he'd have 2 stat points. I'm not gonna worry about those 2 stat points. I'm gonna say I already spent them. That's why he has these stats. Maybe a baby troll only has 12 con, for example, and they have less than 16 regeneration. But that's that. We don't need to worry about that. So, like we said, he's a being between worlds. He's not an elemental, he's not a solar spirit, and he's not going to be a DR creature. I think some trolls could be DR creatures, and I think that fit them pretty well. But I'm thinking a bit of a smaller troll. Like, this is like your basic troll. I think maybe if you wanted to really like make a section for trolls, you'd have like your normal ass trolls, you'd have your lesser trolls who have, worse regeneration, and you have your big chungus trolls who have like, 19 regeneration or something that can just tank hits and have a huge health pool and don't care about getting hurt anymore. These more mid-sized trolls that I'm making are probably bigger than humans, so they are for sure. They're big-sized creatures, but I think they still try and avoid attacks because of their fear of fire and their fear and the fact they likely still feel pain from being hit by stuff. So I'm gonna keep them as a big creature, and they're not going to be DR. So they will need to develop a defense skill. Speaking of that, I think trolls don't actually dodge. I think they block attacks. So with all that in mind, it's time for us to pick our class. War. So I'm thinking this creature could easily be a warrior, but trolls don't usually wear armor, so that bonus is kind of wasted. And if we scroll down through other melee combat like fighter classes, the other options aren't really all that much better than that. Uh, but I'm thinking I'd go with Weapon Master for this character because of that cheap life point multiples. And I think trolls will have a shit ton of health, so I think Weapon Master is a good way to go. So we can give him a lot of health and not have to worry about him dying. He's level 5, so let's put in our development points. So at level 1, we have 600. So we have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We have 1,000 development points to spend on this creature. His size, based on his stats, is 26, but I'm going to say he's size 24 because, like I said, he gained 2 stat points, like him in his physical stats. So I'm going to say that an adult troll is size 24. Just going to put that in there. Height and weight, I'm saying this guy is solid 7 foot tall. And I'm going to say he weighs somewhere around 350 pounds. Just as, flavorful information if you have to, figure out how much a troll weighed and stuff. How big he is. And I'm going to put, a plus next to this. I think this is, the small troll. Like, the small, mid-sized troll. They could easily be taller than 7 feet tall with their stats. So, with that in mind, let's put in our class bonuses. We're a Weapon Master, so we don't get a lot, luckily. In fact, all of ours are combat. So we have attack, block. I won't worry about putting the armor bonus, because it doesn't matter. So block class will be 25. Attack is 25. I'll put in my stat modifiers I have memorized right now, which sadly is not all of them. I know, I'm not that big of a nerd. Not yet, anyways. It's always that bigger one, these 14s and 12s, I don't have memorized, because they don't come up very often. Beyond that, their weapon modules cost half as much. This guy's is gonna punch shit, so we're not gonna worry about those at all. And everything's 2 for 1, except for Vigor, Intellectual, and Subterfuge. Vigor for them is 1, which we'll put. Intellectual is 3. Subterfuge is 3. Everything else is 2. This will be important because we're going to give him a very particular set of skills to match his troll aesthetic. So we're going to put only half fractal DP into our combat skills. Actually, before I go ahead, I'm going to go over and just put in his characteristic modifiers for his higher stats, his 12 and his 14. So 12 is plus 20. And 14 is just plus 25. We'll figure out his life points later. Perfect. Now, before we buy things for his class, we're gonna buy his monster abilities first. As a monster, he also still has his 3 creation points, which you can spend. Though I'm not gonna worry about those until later. Because you make monsters just like you'd make player characters. You even buy extra advantage for them with DP. And I will buy let's see, do I want supernatural or superhuman physical characteristic? That's one. There's some special ones here we have to buy. Yeah, we'll need supernatural physical characteristics for him. So we'll write that down right now over here. This is something you still need to buy even with a monster like this because he can't. Sorry, I keep clicking the wrong tab. Here, I'll do it like that. Just to balance out the fact he has high stats and to give him a minimum genosis of 20. This will cost us 40 DP. Cool. And that's the only one we need to buy from this list. We can get the rest we want with his creation points. Disadvantages. We're going to buy him one for sure. Specifically, we're going to buy him Racial Terror. Now, unfortunately, there's not enough space and disadvantage to put that. I'm going to put it in this background instead. So, Racial Terror. That's plus 20 DP. And it's of fire. I think trolls should be very naturally afraid of fire. And he has natural vulnerability to fire. And I'm going to say trolls take 50% more damage from fire. They're not like elementals where they where they would take double damage. Even they don't take much of double damage from that stuff. So he's weak to fire. He's afraid of fire. It's only plus 10 DP, actually. These advantages will be useful for us. Just in regards for doing that. Anything else? I don't think so. He is size big, so we'll know he has plus 4 to breakage. And his natural weapons have... So he's size big. So he has plus 4 break. His natural weapons have 16 fortitude. Being that he is size big, his natural base initiative is reduced by 10. And his natural weapons do 60 damage. And his punches do 20. Beyond that, he has a base natural armor of 4. Player characters don't get this. Humans have soft skin, but this guy will have a base natural armor of 4. So we'll put that in his AT section. We'll probably increase his AT a little bit. Actually, no. Probably not. AT 4 is pretty good for this guy. Oh, I think armor is actually the top of the sheet, not the bottom. Weapons. Yeah, it's right here. So he has natural armor. He has... So it'd be 4, 4, 4, and 0 for the rest. We might give him some cold AT, but maybe not. We'll see later. But he has 4 of breakage. He only had 16 fortitude, so someone could break those off, and he has... if we were to buy natural weapons, he has 60 BD natural weapon, and he has 20 BD punches and kicks. That'll be important for later. And yeah, we're going to spend the 20 DP on natural weapons. We'll put all the expenses in background from now on as well. So 20 DP, natural weapons, claws and teeth. Pretty simple one. And if we want to, we could boost up his damage. So let's think of this as a balanced mod. He's level 5. He has base damage 60 plus 20. So right now he has final damage 80 with his weapon. 80 is pretty good. I'm going to give him 20 more damage to get it up right up to 100. Trolls are meant to be very deadly. So we're going to go for the plus 20 damage, which I'll add on to this section right here. Plus 20 damage for 20 more DP. To round up to a final damage of 100. He's not going to get key stuff or anything, so that's fine. We might increase his reaction speed, but probably not. Trolls... I think trolls should ignore some AT. So we're going to spend 15 DP to ignore 2 AT. So his claws are pretty good. And that'll be his main form of attack, and we don't need any of this special attacks or poison attacks. Trolls don't really have mystical effects. We could increase the critical on his claws. Yeah, I think we should do that. I think we should go all in on his claws being like mega deadly. So we'll just add a plus 20 to the criticals on his claws. And that's 20 more DP we spend on that. Oops. Accidentally pulled the character sheet off from the thing for a second. Cool. So those are his weapons figured out. The next thing we have to worry about is his regeneration. Trolls move on the ground pretty normally, so we don't worry about that. Here we go. So we wanted that regeneration 16. That will cost us 160 DP to get there. And it's 180 for 18. I think we'll go 16 because, well, we could get 17. Because as you can see, it's just value times 10 at this point for this level of regeneration. So for 17, it would cost us 170 DP if you want to do the math in between our fingers. And that's kind of what I want for him, so that's what I'm going to do it for. I'm going to do a little cheating, but it's pretty, I think we can all agree that regeneration of the theme should cost 170 DP if we can follow basic patterns. That's a lot of his points gone to get that, but it's very powerful. Let's see. Okay. We'll make it a bit cheaper by getting it a doesn't work against fire attacks. So it's only 160 DP. Doesn't work when hit by fire or acid. Or I should put a heat damage. Acid would deal heat damage. So it's regen 17, but it turns off when he gets hit by heat, like a troll. Other than that, this is a pretty normal troll. He doesn't need any more physical armor. Yeah, that's all we need to worry about for this book, I believe, for the abilities. There's one more ability I want to get from this book, though. Specifically, I want to get him a shield. That's a natural shield for him to use. Trolls are... Here we go. We're going to say is the equivalent of a shield from his arms. He's able to block things effectively. So we'll put shield and that costs him 20 DP. And it acts like having that piece of equipment, a normal ass shield, equipped to you at all times. It cannot be disarmed. So now that we've spent some DP on monster abilities, we have to figure out how much we got left that we can spend. So we spent 160 plus 20 plus 20 plus... I think that's 40 more in this text box. I'll add them up so it's all on one side. Yeah, it's plus 60 in total for the natural weapons. So we'll add in 40 more to that. He mitigated some of it by having these two disadvantages. So reduce that by 30 effectively. So he has spent 200 DP on monster abilities. which is about how much we wanted to spend on him. So we're gonna spend 500 on his attack and defense. Most monsters are evenly built, so we're gonna continue that trend, or not -2. No. So we're gonna just divide by 2 twice. We spend 500 DP. We're giving 125 of block, 125 attack, which would put him up to, too late for the math, 160 for his finals. Pretty good for a level 5 monster. He's pretty dangerous. Let's do his weapons real quick here. So it's claws, attack, it'd be just 160. Defense, still 160. Actually, it'd be a bit higher because of his shield. Base damage would be 80. Strength bonus of 20. For a final damage of 100. Special, ignore 2 AT. Plus 20 critical. Speed, natural weapons go at speed 20. It'd have fortitude 16. It'd have breakage of plus 4. Plus his strength bonus. We'll figure that out, but we'll put 4 here for now. Presence would be his presence. And it would be cut, and he can go for thrusts if he bites instead. Perfect. That's figured out. So we have 500 DP on combat, leaving us with 710 DP spent, so we have 290 more DP left to spend. So we mobilize some secondary abilities. Specifically, this guy is a troll. He definitely has feat to strength. I'm just gonna slap like 75 in there. He definitely has that ability. He's gonna have notice, though I don't want to spend too much on secondary abilities. And as I said, he does have his advantages still, but I've not put anything actually in here yet. We don't need to have this in here. I think I know what his advantages are at this point, what I'm going to make them to. They're going to be acute senses, and they're going to be aptitude in a field, perceptive. Acute senses is 1, aptitude's 2. There's his 3 CP spend. I'm not going to get him any further advantage or disadvantage, I think. Because he's definitely going to get the wombo combo of notice and track. I don't think search is important for him. He wouldn't be investigating an area very much. I think he's more of a, do I see it out of the corner of my eye? And am I tracking it? Actually, no, I think he'd have search too. I think that's pretty fair. So that's 150 spent on those. So he spent 225, and he has 75 left. I think Intimidate could be a good skill for him. So I'll give him a little bit. I'll give him like 20, which will put him at 265. I'm thinking right now. Because right now his total expenditure is... Oh, did I do some... Okay, so he's got 210 plus 500 plus 265. He spent that much. He has 25 left. So he could buy 2 life point multiples for like 28 more health, which is like... I'm not sure if he even needs life point multiples at this point. Let's double check how much health he should have, based on his stats alone. So, characteristics... With 14 con, he has 185 base life points. And with his class bonus for being a weapon master, he gets a zoomed in way too much. He gets a bonus of 20 per level, so he gets 100 more just for being a weapon master. And that puts him at like 285? Okay, he doesn't need life point multiples. I think he's fine at 285. That's quite a lot of health. That's pretty chunky for a monster with AT and with defense abilities. I think that's good enough. So what we'll do with our last 25... I won't bother putting it there. I'll put it in withstand. No, I'll just round up his feat strength to 100. And then the last thing we have to do is his natural bonus, which he has 5 of. I'm going to put 2, 1, 2. I'm going to put it like that. And I put this using the wrong area. Let's use the sheet properly. So since he has a plus 10 to perception abilities, that's 20, 10, and 20. So that would be 80. Oh, he has a cute sentence. He'll have another bonus too. Let's not forget that bonus. I bought him the advantage. Oh, I gotta pull up a different document. They buffed this advantage in Core Exit. Oh, now my Windows Explorer is being very dumb and not letting me just click it. It does that sometimes. Anima Beyond Fantasy, Core Exit, Rule Changes. Oh, it's a PDF Word. I thought it was a Word document. It's plus 50 and plus 1 to perception for perception checks. So, and is that just to notice? It's notice and search, okay. So he gets, that's actually 70s in there. So it's 7, it's 130 then for these abilities, which I think makes sense for a troll. And he can track fairly well. He has 120 feet of strength for lifting up boulders and shit. He only has 15 intimidate. I would not be opposed to giving him some sort of weird ratio bonus to intimidate or other bonuses due to his size. But since intimidate's unfortunately a willpower-based skill, he can't have a lot of it. But I gave him a little bit because he's a big fucking troll, so he should have some. And that's unfortunately some limitations of the system where certain creatures who should have really high intimidate just don't. Perfect. And before we finish up, let's just finish up filling out some values here. Like his resistances, for example. Let's figure out his base presence. So he's level 5, so that's extra 25, so that's 55. So he has 80, 80, 80, 55, and he's got 50 here. Oh, I also make him a bit more weak-willed, wasn't I? No, I think that's fine. I think he's got enough disadvantage for now for his character. He has no special as the presence, so I'll put that there. His weapons there. This doesn't matter. These don't matter. Oh, his Genosis. I'll just give him 25. That's pretty typical for beings between worlds, and he needs that much for his ability. Index 12. I don't need to worry about that. Wear armor. Again, he does have some. He gets 10 per level, so he has an extra 50. So he actually has like 70 wear armor. So in theory, if a troll found someone to make armor for him, he would be able to. And I'm just going to double check to make sure my numbers line up here. Unfortunately, my numpad is starting to die on my keyboard. Okay, perfect. That's 1,000 DP, which is how much he has. Oh, the shield. That's one more thing with that on to his stat block. Before I forget about it. So just to get the shield bonus, it will affect his initiative, which is something else to finish up for him as well. To make him a complete monster. No, shields are in the weapon section, actually. They're not in the armor section. Yeah, here they are. So the shield gives him a plus 20 to block, so I'll put in brackets that he has a shield. This is important, so he doesn't get to shut down by range attacks. and it makes him a little bit tankier too. So he actually has 180 defense, but it does grant him a minus 15 to his speed. So this becomes a 5 for the speed. And I'll put this as SP2 for his thing down here, which is this sheet. Where is the initiative for the sheet? There it is. So for all these, we gotta put a minus 10. Because he does not have 20 base. He has 10 base for his size. So for SP1, which could be just base, to be honest, we're not gonna worry about that. So we're gonna put 20 here as well. So 20 becomes 10, becomes 15, comes 25, comes 45. He gets 5 per level from his class, so he has 25 more. 55, 60 initiative. And then his weapon here is 525, so his initiative will be 20 less, so it's 40 of his claws. And those would be his initiatives for how he'd act. I'm not going to bother filling out his martial knowledge. He doesn't have enough to matter. And I don't think trolls are martial artists by any means. And this would give you an idea of what his skills would be. And at this point, he'd be a pretty competent monster to throw out your party, or to summon even. And yeah, here's the troll. I think I'm going to try and make videos like these of monster creation about once a week, and I'll also make sure to unbind the dash button or the negative button number for the overlay that kept accidentally popping up like an idiot. But yeah, I think I'll try and make one of these a week where I'll go in depth into making a monster or a character or something that can be used in a campaign or a setting, and I'll include this character sheet at the end of the video in the description. So if you just want to use a troll, like a basic bitch troll, here's your stats for it, man, free of charge. You can use it however much you want. Everything's here. All the things we bought are in the background, so you can see how much DP we spent. And all of his stats are here, all the modifiers. It's all ready to go. No other work required. It just works out of the box. I hope you guys enjoyed. And if you did, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. And if you have any suggestions for monsters you want built, let me know. I'd love to hear them, and I'd love to make them. I'll see y'all on the flip side.